Hi, this is Lance with Autism Playbook. In this post, we're talking about TEFRA or Medicaid, which is government sponsored insurance. And just know that this does not look at your income or household income because of some special laws. It actually looks at your child's income, which typically is your child doesn't have income. So most children don't. And so, what this is going to get you, I say here, hours per week of free to low cost therapy for your child with autism. It's not just low cost therapy, it depends on your state, but this could cover a whole host of different medical costs that your child may have, including therapy. So, just note I've got kind of all the text below. Read through the post if you want more specifics, but I'll cover everything in this presentation. So, brief history, I won't spend much time on this. There was an act in 1982, the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, or TEFRA. And so you may hear that term TEFRA depending on your state. And what that act did was create a waiver of the income requirement for Medicaid. So typically for Medicaid, I guess typically household income would be looked at. But what TEFRA did was for children with certain medical conditions and things, the income requirement is waived. So there's a waiver, and that's how, despite your income, your child with autism may, and I would say likely, qualifies for TEFRA or Medicaid, again, depending on your state. So, again, very state specific. Your state may just call it Medicaid. Your state may refer to it as TEFRA because in honor of the act, or your state may call it a waiver. They may call it an autism waiver or disability waiver or other things like that. This website here, kidswaivers.org, is awesome. So they basically go out and update for every state all the programs that they can find. Hope to meet the people at Kids Waivers someday and thank them because I really am impressed with their site and the work that they do. So when you're going to find out about your state's program, I would say start there at kidswaivers.org. I highly recommend you have some sort of autism notebook where you're keeping all these things in one place and you can refer back to them. And so in this case, I would say, go to Kids Waivers, get out your autism notebook and look at the programs that your state has, read through them and see which ones you think your child with autism could qualify for. Then I would say turn to Google. Now, I call this the Google to human approach. Google search is so awesome that I feel like we over rely on it sometimes. We literally ask Google questions. But what I would say you want to do in this case is you're going to Google some key terms like Medicaid plus your state, or TEFRA plus your state, or autism waiver plus your state, and just go out and see what websites are out there and what your state has to offer. And anything that looks like something that would apply to your child, just write it down in your autism notebook. So now you've got kind of a list from Kids Waivers, a list from Google. Then let's apply Google to human again, and let's go Google speech therapy plus your city, physical therapy plus your city, ABA therapy plus your city, occupational therapy plus your city. And let's try to identify some therapy clinics in your area. Now, depending on where you live, your city might have one, they might have 10 clinics, they might have none, there might be a nearby place. But identify some clinics in your state, preferably nearby you, that do the kind of work that your child might need. Or if you're already going to a therapy clinic, talk to them. And then get them on the phone. So this is where the human part comes in. Google has given you some answers, but until an actual human who's performing this work with your child says, yes, if you have this insurance or this government program, it will pay for what your child needs, you can't really be sure that you've got the right information. You need a human to confirm. So, and just to note, these therapy clinics, the people that work in their billing offices are expert in insurance and government programs and billing because they have to get paid, and not a lot of people are paying out of pocket purely at therapy clinics. And so they know they're a wealth of information on subjects like this. So give them a call. Tell them your child has autism, you're interested in services, and ask them what government programs are out there specifically in the Medicaid and TEFRA space. And then see what they say, and test what you've researched. So maybe they talk about one program, you can say, oh, well, on Google or Kids Waivers, I found this other program. And they might say, oh yeah, that one just stopped, last year. Or they might say, yeah, that's a great program, but there's a wait list, so get on the list, but use this other one for now. Or they might say, just various things. They will know. But what I would recommend also is don't just rely on one therapy clinic for this information. Find two or three, call them, and make sure you got kind of the same story. At that point, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what government benefits for autism your state offers. And so then you're going to go to find the application process. So maybe the therapy clinic will give you some information on how to apply. That's not their job. It kind of stops with what they take, but they might have some information, say, go to this state agency, or just Google the program that they told you about, find the forms, find out how to apply. But then don't stop there. Keep applying the human approach. So find a phone number for the state agency, call them, say, my child has autism. I'm interested in applying for this program. I found this form on the internet. Is that the correct form? They'll say yes, or they'll say no, you actually need these two forms or this. Get the right mailing address, just get all the details, down. And I can tell you a lot of these programs will say this can take 3 to 6 months when you apply, that sort of thing. And part of that is errors in the application process. Maybe you sent it to the wrong address because the address on the internet hadn't been updated, or maybe part of the form was filled out wrong, that sort of thing. And so what I would recommend, and this is what my wife and I did when we applied for my son in my state, is we did, what I just described to you. And then when we filled out the form, we did it to the best of our ability. And then we called and we walked through the form with the state agency, asking any questions that we'd had along the way. And, they told us to expect up to 6 months, but we had no errors in our application process and actually got approved in about 3 months, which was pretty awesome. So, keep applying the Google Human approach. And then last follow-up. Once you send in your application, once you know you've done it right and you send it in, don't just send it in and wait for months. Send it in and once a month or so, call and follow up. And that way, if there are errors or anything like that, you'll hear them faster and be able to send in the things you need quicker, and then hopefully get through the application process and start getting the benefits and services that your child needs. So that is it. Again, if you have a child with autism and you don't have some sort of Medicaid or TEFRA, check it out because it will be a huge benefit to you. And check out other things, tips like this on www.autismplaybook.com. And especially send me an email, check out my contact page. Let me know what questions you have. I would love to help. Thanks.